We have His Grace Kalakanda Prabhu. Let's give a big round of applause. He's going to be speaking for the next 30 to 35 minutes, and we'll be having a special presentation from the Sankirtan team on the PURI campaign, and there will be some announcements, and then we'll have Prashadam which will be served close to 7:30 p.m. Before I pass it to Prabhu, we'd like to take a quick moment in introducing Kalakanda Prabhu. Kalakanda Prabhu has been practicing the Bhakti tradition of Krishna consciousness for over 50 years. He was initially introduced when he received an Ishopanishad book on the streets by some devotees. In his initial years, he was a brahmachari where he was involved in a lot of book distribution, college preaching, outreach. And in the last 12 years, he's been instrumental in a college outreach program in Gainesville, Florida, where they connect with a lot of young students, presenting to them about the Bhakti tradition and the practice. He was also married in 1982, and he has 3 kids and 2 grandchildren. It's a perfect example on how to lead Krishna conscious lifestyle and having a family as well. And we are so grateful that he's here with us this evening. And Kalakanda Prabhu was also instrumental in starting the Bhakti Academy initiative in Toronto since 2022, about a little more than a year now, where we have some young college-going kids or working professionals stay at the temple and get the experience of practicing Bhakti. So today he's going to be presenting for all of us. Please join me in giving a big round of applause to
Wonderful to be here. Today we're still in the afterglow of Brahmasthami, and so today's presentation is about various relationships, unique relationships that we can have with Srimati Radharani. Radharani is so important to us because we approach Krishna only through Radharani. We say Hare Krishna. Hare is Radharani. Hare refers to Krishna's internal pleasure potency. Just as we all like to enjoy, so God also enjoys. And His ability to enjoy far exceeds ours. His pleasure-giving potency is embodied in Srimati Radharani. And she's very kind, so we can approach her, and in this way Krishna will accept our prayer and service. So I'd like to begin this presentation with a bhajan by a great devotee of Krishna, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was the magistrate in India, in the British Raj, and Jagannath Puri. And in addition to being a highly placed officer in the government, he was also a noted author and poet in the Vaishnava tradition. So one of his famous books is called Sharanagati. Has anyone ever read Sharanagati? Anyone get familiar with that book? Not so much. Okay, well, Sharanagati means to approach the Lord in surrender, the path of surrender. And in this book, he describes 6 steps of surrendering to the Supreme. The first step is to be humble. The second is to offer the Lord everything. The third is to consider that the Lord will maintain me. The fourth is to consider that the Lord will protect me. The fifth is to accept things that are favorable for our devotion to the Lord. And the sixth is to reject those things which are unfavorable for our devotion. So in that section on things that are unfavorable, he has 4 songs. One is one that we're familiar with. We wouldn't want to eat unmentionable things. We like to associate with spiritually minded people, so we reject those sort of unfavorable things. Then he describes the 6 philosophers of India, Jaimini, Gautam, Vaisheshika, etc., these philosophies that are atheistic in nature and subordinate to the theistic philosophy of Vyasa. Those, he said, should be rejected. Then he says that impersonalists should also be rejected. Those who think those who aspire to become one with God rather than to serve God. This is the impersonal or Shankarite school of philosophy. But in the 4th song, the final song, he takes us into the spiritual abode of Lord Krishna. In the course of our devotion, we may come to realize on a very high level who we are in Krishna's Leela in the spiritual world. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur takes us into that environment and he defines himself and then describes things that are very unfavorable in the spiritual world. Okay. So we'll be showing the Bengali and sing the Bengali in this short budget. Oh. Thank you. We'll sing the Bengali, I'll sing, you sing. And then the English translation, we also sing in the same melody. That we can all sing together. Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay. Alita Ananda Gangada Asi Adhika Madhava Charana Dasi Parami variety in the spiritual world. Krishna is not the monolithic God that I was raised to believe in my Judeo-Christian background. The idea of God as being the threatening, judgmental, dangerous, fearsome person. Rather, Krishna is full of varieties. Krishna is enjoying relationships of all kinds. He's not an orphan, he has parents. He's not a loner, he has friends. He's not involuntarily single, he has wives and girlfriends and all varieties of relationships. And his devotees, according to their degree of intimacy, enter into these relationships with him after leaving this painful material world. So in this bhajan we see that not only does Krishna have paramours, lovers, but he has varieties. There are two divisions of the gopis, who are the great devotees of Krishna, his lovers. Some of them are very submissive and obedient to what Krishna wants. This is called the dakshina, or right-wing division of the gopis. And the others can be rather challenging to Krishna. They are not always submissive, and they joke with him, and they make fun of him. And they are called the Vama, or the left-wing gopis. So Radharani is in that camp. And Krishna relishes the jokes that she plays on him. So what does this mean to us? This is all very elevated spiritual subject matter. What this means to us is that however we may choose to approach God, we will get our success if we first approach His great devotees, beginning with Srimati Radharani. Everyone has their own unique way of pleasing God. That word unique is an interesting adjective because it really can't be modified by another word. For example, if you say something is kind of unique, well then it's not unique, is it? It's either unique or it's not. It's not sort of unique, pretty unique. It's either unique or it's not. Unique means one of a kind. And so every one of us has a unique relationship with Krishna. As Bart said to Homer, you are unique, son, just like everyone else. How amazing Krishna is that he creates each and every one of us with this purpose of pleasing him in a unique way. Isn't that a very godlike thing to do? Create infinite expansions, each and every one of them able to bring you joy in these special, unique ways. So the path of self-realization means just uncovering that unique way we have to please Krishna. It's a blissful journey, removing all the other things and getting to our very core, the reason we were created, the reason that we live, the reason we exist. That is to bring pleasure to our Creator. So how do we uncover that unique, glorious, individual way we have to please Krishna? This is the process of bhakti. Bhakti begins with what's called vaidhi, or practice devotion. In the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's instruction book on yoga, in chapter 12 he says that the best thing is to think of me and always remember me out of great ecstatic love. But if you can't do that, then follow the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga. This is called vaidhi. In vaidhi, we bow to the deity. We may not feel like it, but we bow anyway because this is practice. We chant the names of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sometimes chanting is very enjoyable, sometimes it's less enjoyable. That constant state of enjoying the holy name of the Lord comes by practice. So this is vaidhi bhakti. But, Krishna says, if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to be troubled with following these rules and regulations and practicing bhakti, then just work for me. Work for me, and in that way you will develop a desire to come to me. So how do we work for Krishna? Simple. We offer some fruits from our work to Krishna or to Krishna's service. We think of Arjuna, the hero of Bhagavad Gita, and he was being urged by Krishna to what? Go out and fight on the battlefield, to do his duty. But not to do it for the sake of his own aggrandizement, to do it for Krishna's service. Krishna had a purpose for coming to this earth 5,000 years ago. Parijnaya sadhunam vidashaya tadusmitam. He comes to deliver the pious and to annihilate the impious, the rascals, the demons, the miscreants. So he arranged this great war, the Battle of Kurukshetra, where two armies, huge armies, would come together and annihilate each other, and that would reduce the overbuildup of military power on the earth. This was his plan. And Arjuna was meant to help him with that. So he says to Arjuna, Mama Nuskara Yudhya Cha, you fight, but while you're fighting, think of me. So this is how we work for Krishna. Whatever work we're doing, we do it. We want to raise a family, we try to raise our family in Krishna consciousness. We have an altar at home, we offer our food to Krishna, we chant, we bring the family together for kirtan, for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, reading these wonderful books. We do these things, in this way our work becomes supportive of a temple in our own house. And so that is how we work for Krishna. And even then, Krishna says, if you don't want to be bothered to work for me, at least work for some higher purpose, some kind of charitable purpose, because that will bring you more peace of mind than just meditation. Meditation is itself, you could say, very selfish. So better to work for the benefit of others if you can't come to the point of working for God directly. So this is one of the things that I love about Bhagavad Gita when I first read it, how ecumenical, how open, how flexible, how welcoming Krishna is for each and every one of us. So there's no reason not to approach Krishna according to our situation. So again, how do we approach Krishna? We approach through Radharani. And if we get the favor of Radharani, then Krishna will certainly be pleased with our approach. So Radharani has many varieties of means to approach Krishna. Sometimes she's angry at Krishna, sometimes she's submissive to Krishna, sometimes she's joking with Krishna, sometimes she's offended by Krishna. See, full varieties of expression. So I would like to conclude my talk this evening with a presentation of one of Radharani's pastimes from this glorious Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the life of Krishna. Bhagavad Gita is the instruction of Krishna, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the life story of Krishna. It's the finest literature in the world, this incredible literature which brings us to God consciousness just by hearing it. So in one section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a passage in which Krishna is having a problem. Some of you who are familiar with Krishna's life, they know he began his life in Vrindavan, then he went to Mathura. But when he was in Mathura, all the residents of Vrindavan were missing him very much. But he had things to do in Mathura. So he decided to send his cousin, Uddhava, back to Vrindavan to take a message to everybody there. That, don't worry, I'm always present. You can just think of me and remember me and I'll be present. That was the message. So Uddhava came to Vrindavan. He had never been there before. Uddhava was familiar with Krishna in his more majestic role. But the residents of Vrindavan knew Krishna as a little boy. And they knew him growing up and they watched him tend the cows and they loved him so much. Very simple village people. So when Uddhava came to Vrindavan, he was very surprised by the mood of devotion and familiarity to Krishna by all of the residents. So he spoke with the gopis who gathered around him when he arrived, because he looked so much like Krishna. They all came and just kind of stared at him like the innocent village girls they were. And so he gave them Krishna's message, and he sat down and spoke with them. But as he was sitting, he saw one gopi wander off and began a conversation with a bee out in the meadow. So in this poetic description, we're going to be able to get a glimpse into these emotional relationships between Radha and Krishna. Vishaka is going to read the part of Radharani, and We'll also put the words here on the screen, so if you like, you can follow along. Uddhava said, one gopi, Radha, thought of Krishna so intensively, she started a discussion with a passing honeybee. Imagining the insect was a messenger instead, she thought he'd take a message back to Krishna. So she said,
do not touch your whiskers to my foot. They have kumkum on them from a rival's crest, for Krishna's garment is crushed upon them. She can have him. Surely one who sends little on boys like you always will be ridiculed in Mathura by the Yadus. Krishna made us taste his nectar lips for a single hour. Then he left us like a honeybee, taste and leaves the flower. Why does goddess Lakshmi serve his feet? Does she never realize Krishna has enchanted her and stolen her mind with his lies? Why do you sing on about this Krishna to us who lost him? We have heard it all. You should perform for the girls who got him. Krishna knows their smoldering desires and he gratifies them. Do not bother us with your request. Why not go and try them? How his arching eyebrows grace the smiles of that charming Krishna. Women throughout heaven, earth, and hell never can resist him. Goddesses of fortune serve the dust in which he is standing. We have nothing left except his name, and we are always chanting. Keep your little head off my feet. I know what you're doing. Krishna taught diplomacy to you, which you're clearly using. He abandoned us. Although for him we gave up our families. Where's his gratitude? He shall receive no new message from me. Conquered by his Sita, he disfigured a lusty lady, then killed the monkey monarch in a way that was very shady. After taking everything from Bali, the king, he bound him. Let's give up this person, even if we must talk about him. Hearing all these things that Krishna does fills the ears with nectar. Normal people taste a single drop and become collectors. Giving up their homes and families, they arrive quite often, here to live like the wretched, roaming birds, begging in Vrindavan. Like some foolish deer, we trust the hunter's enchanting singing. Faithfully we trusted Krishna's words, like the ones you're bringing. Now we feel excruciating lust that his touch created. Kindly talk no more about Krishna. We're saturated.
As the gopi spoke, the honeybee darted from her presence. When she couldn't see the bee, her anger grew obsolescent. Fearing that the bee told Krishna how all her words attacked him, when the bee returned, she tried to soften and then retracted them.
Friend of my beloved, is it he who has sent your message? Tell me how to show you due respect. Would you like my blessings? Why would Krishna, who we can't forget, call us in this fashion? After all, dear bee, Lakshmi herself is his staunch companion. Uddhava, we can't believe that Krishna no longer lives here. All his friends, his parents, and his home, does he still remember? Does he ever talk about his maid servants in the forest? When will his Aguru scented hand once more touch our foreheads? Surely Krishna tells the city ladies they cannot please him as much as the gopis do. And soon he'll get up and leave them. Coming back to us, he will declare, all throughout creations, no one has your qualities. I want your association.
To hear these loving statements left Uddhava so impressed, he raced to Mathura, entered the palace, and expressed to Balaram and Krishna, and to Krishna's entourage, everyone, ecstatic love for Krishna overwhelms the land of Raj. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Here we thank you very much. So these are the moods of Radharani. You see how she goes from indifference, indignation to remorse and contrition. In this way, you see how any way that our unique service to Krishna manifests, Radharani is willing to reciprocate. So, we'll stop here about our Radharani discussion. Are there any questions or other reflections before we move on with our program? Comments? Okay. All right, well, thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much. And Prabhu, let's show our appreciation for his beautiful poetry presentation, which just comes in perfect time right after Radharashtrami. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for being here. So the next part of the program, we're going to be having a special presentation by the Toronto Sankirtan team on the upcoming